Hey guys, good morning. It is Lane, and it is a beautiful Sunday here at in Hawaii, and super excited because I get to go in here and lead worship for church here in a little bit, and I love doing that stuff. And so I'm actually going to be trying to record a couple of songs today, video, and I'll try to post them after I get them edited and all that other stuff. But today's video is going to be about a lot of worship leaders and a lot of musicians and people just generally that sing on a stage want to know, how do I pick a song in the right key? So the big thing is, you and I both know, sitting in the congregation, if you're singing a song and the lead singer, the worship leader up on the stage is singing in, let's say, a high G, you may not be able to reach that high G, so you just kind of sit there and mumble, and you're worried about being off, and it becomes more of a distraction. That's the key point between all of this, is you don't want, if you're a worship leader, you don't want to sing in a way or sing in a key or whatever in such a way that it would become a distraction for people, because at that point you're not leading worship, you're putting on a show in a sense. And so I'm not saying that if you can sing that well, that's great. Save it for maybe, if you got an offertory or whatever and you want to sing it in that key, that's great. But pick a key that is more mid-range. Take Oceans, for example. Oceans can be sang, in the key of A, in the key of E, in the key of G, whatever. I mean, you can pick whatever range you want, high range, low range. I would always shoot for the middle range. And most people's ranges vocally, you can sing anywhere between a mid and a high or a mid and a low. Some people are blessed and they can sing the whole range, but keep in mind that not everybody can sing that way, right? So just because you or I can sing way down here, way up here, it doesn't mean that everybody else in that congregation can. So you want to set it up to be an environment where people can worship freely and legitimately sing the song, and not be so worried about, like, well, I can't sing this because it's way too high. And also make it easy to follow. I see in a lot of places that they want to go off on these huge rants and stuff, and I'm not saying that you can't be led by the Spirit. That is obviously not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, don't do all the all the runs and all this crazy stuff. Do it to where you can, it was a terrible example, but do it to where you can lead congregations in worship, right? And I hate to use the word simple, make it more simple, but you kind of have to in some sense, right? Make sure that your band is on the same page, right? So if you've got a guitarist who's just out there just killing it, and he listens to Zeppelin throughout the week, and he comes in and he tries to play Led Zeppelin type music as far as solos and everything else goes, maybe talk to that guitarist and be like, hey man, we're singing, like, Oceans or whatever, like I said before. So just make sure that you are paying attention to that kind of stuff, because it's important to know as a worship leader, hey, when I get up here and I start leading worship, I need to also be cognizant of what's happening in the music and the ranges and the key and all of that stuff. When I first started leading worship, I was like, man, I want to sing this really high because it sounds good really high. And I'm not saying it won't sound really good at a high range, but I wasn't thinking about leading worship. I was thinking about performing worship. And there's a big difference in those two things. And I'm a big advocate on, I like lighting. I like the sanctuary lights to be down, because that puts you more in a focused situation. That puts you more, in an area where you can freely worship. You don't have the light on you, right, if you're in the congregation. So, and then the stage lights and stuff, I mean, be careful not to turn it into a concert. I mean, if that's what your church does, that's fine. But, just please keep in mind about humility and about leading worship in a sense of being humble, right? So, because you and I are just as much of a sinner as everybody else out here in this world. And The only difference is you and I have been covered by grace through salvation. So we are trying to get people to want to accept that grace and that salvation. So, you know, no one out there is better than anybody. So just keep that in mind. You know, when you're picking out your key, try to shoot for a mid range. You know, and just kind of, it takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of like, you try a song and you kind of pay attention to what's happening, and if nobody's really singing, maybe it's too high or maybe it's too low, and just kind of adjust from there. But you know, I'm not saying don't be disheartened by that. Sometimes people just aren't into that song, and that's okay. I mean, the big key is make sure you pick the right range and make sure you are flexible. So that's about all I got for today, but thank you for joining me. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave it in the comment section. Things you want to hear me talk about as far as my input on worship, please let me know. And God bless. We will see you in the next video. Later.